Welcome to Atypical, an offbeat take about news in the addiction recovery field. I'm co-host Mary Crocker-Cook from the San Jose City College Alcohol and Drug Studies program. Be sure and subscribe.
And I'm Gary Montreza, co-host and executive director of Pathway Society in San Jose.
Otherwise known as GMO.
GMO.
Okay. Our purpose is to both educate and entertain with the recent news and stories about the addiction field. We've set our broadcast up in sections that include drugs, news, an ethics challenge, and prevention.
In fact, let's get started with our first section. Why would you use that to get high? And I got something for you.
Okay, what you got?
Devil's breath.
Oh.
And you're thinking,
Devil's breath?
This
That's
isn't
weird.
about our president. This isn't about politics. What is this about? It's actually not about our president. But
Okay.
I will say this. It is about something, well, it goes by several names. Devil's breath, I'm not going to go into the first part of it that creates like a zombie-like state. I'll leave that out because some of this is hyperbole. But
Okay.
it's derived from a flower, and it's called borrachero scrub. It's in, I guess, Colombia.
Okay.
But there's also a variant of it here called Jimson weed. And you're thinking, what is this stuff? Well, it's also called burundanga.
Oh, okay.
You know, all these different names. But it's been used by South Americans in different spiritual rituals.
All right.
And so maybe we can use it for voting. But here's the thought. It's a compound that creates hallucinations, frightening images, and a lack of free will, which...
Oh, like a zombie drug.
Yeah, well, not to be confused with the current state of our democracy.
Well,
but,
and I better make sure you don't put any in my water. You'd be making me act like a chicken.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, little Santeria. Okay, if you know what that is. So again, the hallucinations, frightening images, and lack of free will, not our current state of our democracy. That's not what I'm talking about. But anyway, you wouldn't know this, but this also is a prescription drug. It's
Okay.
over the counter.
Oh, wow.
And you kind of talked about this before, but it's scopolamine. It's been used for nausea and motion sickness as well. So we
Okay.
kind of have a theme between last week and
last
now.
week we talked about motion sickness, yeah.
This one's it's usually administered through a transderm kind of patch.
Okay.
And it's a time release thing. It could be also worn on your ears and such. But why are people? What are they doing with it?
Exactly,
First of all,
yeah.
so it is a controlled substance. But here's why people are using it. Apparently, dry mouth, blurred vision, headaches, urinary retention, dizziness can occur in using this with these patches.
Okay.
But people are mixing it also with alcohol.
Oh, they're drinking when they take it.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
drinking. Also, if you have an overdose of this stuff, you can get tachycardia, which is a rushing
Oh,
heart.
yeah.
you know.
That's uncomfortable.
Toxic psychosis, dilated pupils, confusion. Again, these could be me on any given day. But,
Gary at a staff meeting.
yeah, really, truly, yeah. Particularly the hallucinations. So use with alcohol, again, is warned against in most of the labeling, but the idea here is that it's going to cause your heart to stop. That's really what it is.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
So you're going to get, like we've had with some of these other drugs, where you get super excited,
Yeah?
your heart's racing and all that, and all of a sudden you slow down,
Oh,
and you die.
and you die. Wow.
Yeah, it's not really that cool.
Okay.
So excitability, yeah, amnesia could result from oral consumption of this stuff. Again, a zombie-like kind of side effects. They've talked about this, blowing this in people's faces. This is in other parts of the world, in Colombia. And they're also giving you a card with this stuff on it, and all of a sudden you go into some hallucinations.
Because you get it on your skin.
Yeah, but that's been kind of debunked. So that's not really what happens here at all.
Okay.
But what was interesting about this is the State Department, our State Department, was sufficiently concerned about it that they've warned travelers in certain parts of the world, particularly Colombia,
Okay.
and South America, to never, leave your food and drinks unattended while traveling.
Wow.
They talk about don't accept food from strangers and new acquaintances.
Okay.
Which is kind of everybody
That's
in a
kind
new
of a
country.
good-
I'm just thinking,
yes,
but that's
pretty good
everybody.
rule of thumb
But
in
that's in
general.
everybody in a new country. I mean, it's everybody. So travel in a large group when possible, and don't leave with a stranger. Always check the State Department's crime and safety warnings, blah, 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 before traveling. Seek medical assistance if you believe you've been drugged. So apparently this is
a thing.
kind of a thing.
This is a thing. Okay. Wow.
And there were accounts of this occurring in Europe. from Newsweek, Europe surfaced that elderly people were being targeted by Chinese network from a criminal network in China.
Network. Wow.
So the State Department warns against travelers going to Colombia and also apparently some places in Europe.
Wow.
I thought it was kind of interesting. This one's not something that people are going to probably use recreationally, but they did talk about some of this being used as a date rape.
As a date rape? That's what I was thinking of. I was thinking
situation?
of roofies while you were talking about hypnol.
Yeah, so
Wow.
That's kind of the interesting thing. Jimson weed, it is from prevalent in West Virginia.
Okay.
Which we'll be talking about them later in the podcast.
Okay.
That's a special shout out.
Okay.
Shout out to West Virginia.
Okay.
Anyway,
okay, well that was interesting, and I'll certainly have to not take food from strangers next time I'm in Colombia.
Well, or just don't get a bunch of those patches together. And
and drink at the same time. Okay. Well, that's interesting, Gary. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's turn our attention to our news for today. The FDA approved a ketamine-like nasal spray for hard-to-treat depression. I actually saw this in multiple places in the last couple of weeks.
Yes.
It's the drug esketamine. It's a new kind of antidepressant for people who have not responded to other treatments. But I'm particularly interested in this, Gary, because it is a cat tranquilizer. Kitty cat tranquilizer. Okay,
wait, do you cast any tranquilizing?
Sometimes I do.
I'm just wondering.
Well, this also is where we're going to bring in our slang alert.
Oh, right, cool.
Slang alert, okay. So this is sometimes called blind squid, cat Valium, donkey, green K, honey, oil, K-hold, kitty cat, kitty flip, kitty ways, purple, special K, vitamin K, wobble, and wonky.
Those are all fine to me.
Those are
donkey?
Donkey. I know. Well, so I'll work it in.
Which of these things don't go together? It's a matching quiz.
Well, I'm going to work it in. Together. So, all right. So treatment-resistant depression affects 1 in 3 of the estimated 16.2 million adults in the U.S. who have had at least one major depressive episode. And for them, 2 or more therapies have failed. The risk of suicide is much greater. So it's a grim prognosis. And so these is a particular therapy for depression that resists treatment. So the FDA granted this new drug application on the fast track and breakthrough therapy status. On March 5, they approved a new treatment called Spravato, which is an esketamine nasal spray. So, practically speaking, esketamine is essentially the same as ketamine or cat Valium, which is a painkiller
or donkey
with hallucinogenic effects. And people do use Special K illegally. But it's interestingly enough, it's not really as much a street drug. Many drugs, especially those for the treatment of mental illness, have powerful effects on the central nervous system. So, first of all, ketamine use is rare. In fact, the article that I was reviewing, when he interviewed ketamine users even 20 years ago in 1964, there's been no outbreak since. So, because ketamine, or blind squid, is short-acting, between 2 and 4 hours, produces euphoria, sustained pain relief, sedation mixed with powerful hallucinogenic effects. So, in some ways, taking it can be kind of unpleasant. You can have out-of-the-body perception distortions and tunnel visions. And so the biggest problem with it is you can't use it habitually. For example, a person can take heroin every day and function, where Kit Kat is disruptive. Another reason that ketamine isn't popular on the streets is that users don't have to keep using it to avoid withdrawal. So that really cuts into the making a repeat customer that, most dealers adhere to.
No, exactly. Yeah. Sure.
So if there's no withdrawal syndrome, then there's people don't get sick.
There's no market.
Exactly. There's no market. On the other hand, it is a benefit because it's true. Sometimes the fear of withdrawal is a major motivation to avoid treatment. So in this particular case, the fact that its addiction liability is kind of low is helpful. So on balance, the profile of Kitty Flip is more like LSD than cocaine or opiates. So people probably will not get addicted. Okay, of course, we always say that kind of thing, and then 10 years later, they have to do like a recall, and then
OxyContin
you start to see
mind,
those those unfortunate.
Thank you, Sackler family. Shout out to the
Sackler
Sacklers.
family.
Pharma. Big Pharma.
We
Purdue.
start to get those unfortunate commercials where they're doing class action suits,
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
ask you to call the 1-800 number if this is you. But anyway.
We're going to get letters on this one.
Okay, so basically, how are they going to take it? Well, it's mostly going to be delivered as a nasal spray. They're going to take it under the observation and care of a health professional in an office or approved health center, and you cannot drive until the day after you've taken it. And you also have to take an oral antidepressant. So in other words, it's not going to be a substitute for an SSRI, but it's going to be an adjunct.
So the idea is with this, using this, is this going to, do they have to do it in accordance with a practitioner or a doc?
Yeah. It has to be done with a physician. Yeah.
And they're going to get some kind of help? Because
That's
it sounds
right.
like, they're being monitored as they're
Yes.
taking it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's...
And again, this is for people that have tried multiple other approaches and it hasn't worked. And so their suicidality risk is higher.
I see.
So it's worth trying.
It is, yeah, indeed. And is there a way that over time that they'll build those healthy neuroanatomical pathways and maybe repair?
That's a very good question.
I
honestly don't know.
I don't know.
That would be the hope.
That would be
right?
the hope, yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Well, I also had a follow-up story, by the
Sure.
way, that switching gears, tobacco stocks have dropped as the FDA probes possible link between seizures and vaping. You and I have done a couple of these vaping stories.
Yes.
Apparently, the Food and Alcohol Administration said it was investigating 36 cases of people who had seizures after vaping between 2010 and 2019. They got 35 reports of people, teens and young adults, experiencing seizures after using e-cigarettes.
Shout out to Jewel.
There it is. And in fact, it is in fact Jewel.
What do we know? Florida, LA, Jewel.
That's right. They believe that the severe nicotine poisoning is what's causing the seizures. So shares of Altria, which is, again, Jewel, did fall 5%. And in fact, the British American tobacco slid nearly 3% down. So even though FDA didn't directly blame e-cigarettes, it's not gonna help the perception people have of them. In fact, there's a proportion of people who really think e-cigarettes are as bad or worse than combustible cigarettes, and so it's beginning to spook investors.
Yeah.
Who are looking at this and going, yeah, I don't know. Particularly with the teen vaping thing we've talked about before. So
yeah, that was horrifying. That was
terrible.
That story was really
particularly
compelling.
bad.
Super compelling.
So anyway, I saw that follow up and I thought, you know how you and I, once we get something in our head, we have to beat it to death, and Jewel is one of them.
Usually I beat it to death and I still can't get it out of my head. Like I'm still thinking donkeys. Why?
Why do they call it donkey?
Kid, cat, kitty cat.
Kitty cat. I like the kitty cat.
Whack cat, whatever it's called. And then donkey. Like, what? Where did that come from?
Anyway, that was today's DEA slang lesson for today.
Oh, I love that.
And we'll see what happens with the ketamine and see if it really makes a difference.
Cool. Well, is it time for our ethics challenge?
Oh, yay! Ethics challenge. Okay.
Addiction counselors acting badly. We may need to expand who may act badly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we're gonna have to broaden that. It's not just addiction counselors.
Okay.
But if you're an addiction counselor or you're involved in this field, we invite you to get your CCAP.
Get out
ethics
your CCAP
code,
ethics codes.
to follow along, and we'll have a link in our Atypical podcast link. So, Mary, when I read this story, because this was so obvious, it's not even funny.
All right.
See if you can identify something.
Okay, go ahead.
So here's the headline. Doctors in 5 states. First word, doctors. In 5 states.
5 states.
Charged with prescribing painkillers for cash.
Yeah.
Sex.
And sex.
And sex.
Oh, no.
Nope, it's not an HBO special.
No, but
This
it probably will be.
The real thing.
Oh.
5 states. I'm going to give you a little quick quiz.
Okay.
Can you guess one or 2 of the 5 states?
Well, I'm going to guess based on your earlier comments, West Virginia.
West
would
Virginia.
Be one of them.
I think they are one of them.
Okay.
You have any more you want to?
Is what else?
How about Mitch McConnell's
That's where's
state.
Kentucky,
It's
right?
Kentucky, good old Kentucky.
All right.
Shout out to Alabama, Tennessee. Yeah, and let's see, Ohio. I think,
Ohio.
too. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Oh dear.
Lovely. So dozens of medical professionals in 5 states, they were charged Wednesday, and this article just came out the 17th of April, for illegal prescriptions of 32 million pain pills.
Oh my God.
And this includes doctors, they traded sex for, as we talked about, for prescriptions. And we can't shake these guys from the podcast, a dentist.
Oh, a dentist. Oh my God.
Who unnecessarily pull teeth from patients to justify giving them opioids.
No.
So not only are our dentists going after our kids, they're just they need interventions. They need a lot of counseling. Something needs to happen. So 60 people indicted included 31 doctors, 7 pharmacists, and 8 nurse practitioners. I mean, this is the top tier of the profession, right?
Okay.
And other licensed medical professionals. The charges involve more than 350,000 illegal prescriptions written in Kentucky, Ohio, Tennessee, Alabama. And there it is, West Virginia. According to indictments and sealed in federal court. So, what is really striking to me is this is Trump country.
You're right, it is.
Yeah. It may explain the results and the voting patterns in that part of the world. It could be.
Is.
I'm not sure.
It is.
But essentially, the complaint says this is the equivalent of 1 opioid dose for every man, woman, and child in 5 states in the region.
Oh, no.
No. That's just unbelievable to me. So if these, and this is another quote from the indictment, if these medical professionals behave like drug dealers, you can rest assured that the Justice Department is going to treat them like drug dealers.
As it should be.
I believe so as well. So they could receive up to a 20-year prison sentence. Many of the defendants face multiple counts. One doctor in Tennessee is charged in connection with an overdose death caused by opioids. So this is serious stuff. I mean,
it kills people.
I make fun of these things.
But it kills people.
But it has serious consequences. And again, shout out to the Sackler family for their work in
to their contribution to the crisis.
Oh, that was a beautiful segue.
I
happen to have here in front of me.
What?
If you want to follow along, you can always go to the Center for Responsive Politics, otherwise known as opensecrets.org.
Oh, okay.
And you can see who gives money to whom. And so if you want to know what Big Pharma, in this particular instance, the Sacklers, Purdue Pharma, has donated to different folks, you can go ahead and look. And I did a little cursory summary here.
Look what you found.
And I did find some folks from, Georgia, Alabama, Virginia. Guess what?
What?
They received money from Big Pharma.
Big Pharma.
Those, particularly Purdue.
Oh, wow.
And they did spend approximately $1.1 million last year in
political donations.
in lobbying and
lobbying.
donations. Yeah. So I want to just draw the connection for everybody. Since that was my little moment, my little Justice Warrior moment.
Okay, so you
in the middle of the story.
Yeah.
I wanted to just point out that you too can go find out who's taking money. It's not just Republicans either. There's some Democrats on here in different states. So
Yeah.
This has gotten to a point.
There's a reason why it's taken it to get this bad for there to be intervention.
That's right.
Got it. Yeah.
Over the past 2 years, then the Justice Department officials have been talking about targeting doctors, healthcare companies, manufacturers. And last year, they charged 162 defendants and 76 doctors.
76 doctors.
And this
is the Hippocratic Oath.
Right.
Do no harm.
I know. I guess they only mean for themselves and their families.
Wow.
But really, and here's the worst part of it. Look, this is impacting folks in the Appalachian area.
Right.
So these are folks that don't really have anything to begin with.
Right.
And are low income, usually low information people, education otherwise. And so the notion that here, again, from the complaint, the opioid epidemic is the deadliest drug crisis in American history, and Appalachia has suffered the consequences more than perhaps any other region.
Yeah.
I mean, now, I don't want to say who said that, but anyway, it's from the Justice Department.
Oh, okay. Right.
So what they did is they set up this sting operation.
Uh-huh.
Can you imagine? Because, it's like they're dealing with the mob or something, and they kind of are. They set up this thing, cameras, recorders, everything, and they're looking to see, and they documented how professionals use their license to peddle highly addictive substances, of course, exchange cash and sex and all that.
Yeah.
So in one case, the doctor operated a pharmacy in his office.
Oh,
Right outside the door.
Wow.
So they could fill their prescriptions.
As they left his office.
Right when they left.
Oh,
it's like,
man.
here's your little cursory exam, and okay, bye. And by the way, here, let me sell you what you got here. Here's the other one that's just horrifying to me. And another prosecutor said patients consented to having their teeth pulled so they could obtain opioid prescriptions from a dentist. Again, there's that dentist. And then paid in cash.
Oh, my goodness.
In a number of cases, according to the indictments, doctors across the region traded prescriptions for oxycodone and hydrocodone for sexual favors.
Oh, my gosh.
It goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
But anyway, what the statement from one of the guys is what these doctors have done is pretty remarkable in its brazenness. In one part in Dayton, Ohio, they were talking about a pill mill. Prosecutors said that the healthcare professionals dispensed more than 1.7 million pills.
Wow.
Between October 2015 and October 2017. And in Tennessee, shout out to Tennessee and your representative, a doc who branded himself Rock Doc, allegedly prescribed dangerous combinations of opioids and benzodiazepines, sometimes in exchange for sexual favors.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, fentanyl patches. I mean, it just goes on and on. Alabama, shout out to you too, recruited prostitutes and other young women to become patients at his clinic and allowed them to use drugs at his home.
Oh, no.
I mean,
the patients were using drugs and he was he was selling them.
No, yeah. He
God.
Recruited. He recruited.
Recruited.
Just, where can you find this sentence anywhere? I Google it.
Oh.
A doctor allegedly recruited prostitutes. Just that little phrase and see what you come up with.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Kentucky, same thing. A doc was recruiting people on Facebook. Hi, my friends. And they'd come to his home and give cash. I can go on and on and on. I just don't know what to say.
Well, you know what? I have a follow-up for that article, which is interesting.
Please.
I heard that, they were talking about this on NPR. The follow-up to this, though, is that when you pull, a lot of those doctors and nurses are in underserved areas. They're in rural areas, which is one of the reasons it can be so brazen and they can get away with it. But when you round up that many of them, there are no medical professionals to replace them. So then what you've got is all of these patients with no medical care. So they're starting, I can't remember which state it was, but this was the first time that when the same day that they rounded up all the doctors, they started to publicize 800 numbers and places that current patients could go that were actually needing the opiates for their genuine medical care. And then 800 numbers for people that really wanted to get help for their addiction. And they also posted it on the closed, when the doors were closed at the different facilities. And so they were trying to do an outreach to the people, because what are those people supposed to do, right? Because they're hard to treat areas. People don't want to work there. And so then you've got all these people that are just sitting out there with untreated medical and chronic pain
just the
issues.
The multiplicity of victimization and exploitation that goes on. Real quick, Sackler family.
Yeah.
Our favorite OxyContin folks. They want to settle opioids lawsuits.
Oh, they do.
And apparently, they understand their exposure now, which they estimate to be, what did they say here? Nearly $500 billion. So
$1 trillion.
$500 billion.
I don't even know how much that is.
Our audience, that would be 500,000 billions, right?
I don't know. I don't know how much is in $1 trillion. Is that how much?
Okay, that's our question for the week.
Okay, 500,000 billions. You said.
I think that's correct.
That's not even a number, Gary. Wow.
Or is that 500? I'm sorry, that's 500 billion. Yeah,
500 billion.
I'm sorry, 500 billion. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So here's the representative for 4 of the family members that controls Purdue. They want to. There's 2,000 lawsuits out there.
2,000.
They want to do a global settlement. So when a multi-billionaire family says they want to do some type of global settlement,
Wow.
they understand their exposure is really huge.
Yes, it is. I don't even know what a global settlement is.
I don't either. I don't think there should be one. I think they
Wow.
should be drained of all their assets. And did I say that? Yeah. I'm sorry.
That's your
my inside voice.
That's your inside voice, Gary.
Inside voice. Sorry. Because it's unconscionable, and you see the effects of this.
Wow.
And who does it really impact? I mean, the folks that really have no say in anything, you know? And you even have doctors and dentists now. This has gotten to a point.
It's run amok, Gary.
It's run amok. So somebody's going to have to cough it up, and I'm afraid the fine folks at Purdue Pharma are going to have to pay their part.
Well, and you know what would be really groovy about that is that's a lot of money for treatment. If they could directly take that $500 billion
$500 billion.
and put it straight into treatment, I mean, that'd be really swell.
I would love that.
That would be the balance, the scales of justice there.
I agree. So anyway, we got the Sacklers in there. We got these rogue docs.
Wow.
We got, remember, folks, if you want to.
And what is that called again?
It's called Open Secrets.
Open Secret. Of course, you would know such a thing. I love that about you.
Here you go. You know, you can look at who got
and the
what.
Contributions, who gets what, who gives what to who.
Yeah, put your local politician there, if your House or Senate representative, you know.
And see who gave the money.
Yeah.
Wow.
You see.
Now, you know what though? I thought that the whole point of the Supreme Court saying that organizations are people is that you can have these PACs where people can hide their donations.
Yeah, they do hide some donations, and they still account for the PACs. We just don't know where it goes after it gets to the PAC.
Oh, okay.
They're hiding that part, but they'll still go individual and give people individual amounts of money.
Okay.
But again, you know, the People's United, was it People's United decision? I guess if corporations are indeed people,
then we should be able to sue the Sackler family.
Yeah, the Sacklers need to go.
Good job.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Then we should be able to lock them up, as they say.
I'd be chanting that.
Okay, you know what? There's so many ethics codes. I don't even know what to talk about in this. I mean, it's just all out bad. Advertising, marketing, programming is unprofessional here, and conduct, securing, misrepresenting credentials, principle 2, boundaries, inappropriate social relationships, sexual relationships, committing acts of sexual abuse, conduct, engaging in a business relationship with clients and patients, unlawfully
illegal.
Administering to themselves any controlled substance.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just pretty much.
Isn't it interesting? The doctors blow away anything that any of our addiction counselors have done.
KDAX, there's no way we could hit all of these at one time.
There's no way.
Yeah, wow. That's impressive in its own sick way. Okay.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
Wow. Well, okay, let me turn to solution. Because you know what? Now it's time to go to an interesting article about prevention. And I thought this was kind of fun. Cops turned this old scuba rescue truck into a drug-fighting headquarters on wheels. Check this out.
Wait a minute.
Check this out. Okay.
Cool.
Kathy Vasquez stood in front of the Family Dollar store begging for money Monday morning on a business corridor in North Newark. She had her belongings in a suitcase, a telephone number to call someone affiliated with a drug treatment program in New York. However, she didn't make the call by 9. She had a better option. Darius Phoebus, a Newark detective in plain clothes, was about to help her. They were in front of the dollar store and steps away from a large truck in which Phoebus works with other plainclothes officers to connect addicts like Veloquez to treatment and social services. It's called Hope One Network. There's a name written on the truck in purple letters next to a purple ribbon, the color signifying recovery. There's no police logo, only words that say care and stigma-free. In fact, the people don't even know the officers are in fact cops, and in fact they want it that way.
Cool.
And so so the idea is that the Newark needed to do something. They said they're not going to be able to wrest their way out of the opioid problem,
unless they're doctors.
Unless they're doctors, but then
Somebody
they just pull out their teeth unnecessarily.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what they did is the Newark decided to convert an old fire department scuba rescue vehicle into a mobile unit. I love this. Okay.
Wow.
They say, there's a warrior side as far as policing goes, but there's also a guardian side. And this is where the guardian side comes out. So in its inception in Morris County, Gannon said his idea is to help people with addiction and those with mental health issues has spread to other counties, Malmworth or Atlantic, Cape May and Burlington. Who would have thought that in a year and a half we'd reach thousands throughout the state? He said, I had a simple premise in mind to bring our collective services to the at-risk population, wherever they are and wherever they need us. So the department has all kinds of referrals where beds are available, and drug-related deaths have decreased 1% in the county. They've seen 6,100 people, referred hundreds to mental health services, and they've trained 1,600 people on how to use Narcan, the narcotic that brings someone back from a drug overdose. So it's pretty exciting.
It is exciting.
So I think and I couldn't resist the idea.
I'm intrigued by what you said about the notion of there's the guardian side.
Yeah, the guardian side of policing.
That's so interesting.
Well, they say protect and serve, right?
Right.
Isn't that their deal? Protect and serve. Mm-hmm. So it's the protection part and serve part.
No, it's so funny because we're inundated with, police acting badly.
Exactly.
But there's also every day a lot of police acting well.
Yeah. And the fact that somebody even thought of using a scuba rescue vehicle.
Yeah.
I just couldn't help
but
giggle when I saw that.
I'm just trying to think what it looks like.
What an obscure item. We'll have to look it up after.
It's like a float, or something?
It would have to. If it's a scuba rescue, it means that's going to the water.
Yeah, I guess.
It would have to.
Or float, you think?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
But anyway...
They took it out in a pond, and a bunch of ducks were following it, so
right.
That's all we care about.
There's scuba things running around helping people. So so that's a way to think about your police officer today, which is the guardian side is also there.
Yeah, that's a good note.
There's far more of them guard than shoot people.
Indeed. So, I guess, is this it?
I think it is. Is it that time?
It's a bit of a tear. Humility check. We're coming to the end here, is what it is. But it's never the end until we really have a check on our humility.
That's right.
And this section, of course, as you all know, reminds us not to take ourselves too seriously, a key to burnout prevention. And I know you have something.
I do. I have an unusual one.
Excuse me.
This time
they're all unusual.
I know, but this one was just a very interesting experience I had. So I'm gonna save some of my other wild ones for later. But I'm gonna get back to I don't know how many shows ago that we had a discussion about the state of my vehicle and having run into the fence. Anyway, I decided that I would go ahead and have it fixed once I realized how much money I had to pay for taxes and I could afford to have it fixed, and so I did. And so I wandered into this place called the Almaden Auto Body Shop on Almaden Expressway and San Jose. And I'm doing a shout out because of all things, the guy that runs it, his name is John Shahidi.
Okay.
I go in and I'm talking to him and I look around and what do I notice but some Assyrian symbols. Mm-hmm. Now, Gary, I love Assyrians. I particularly love Zoroastrianism.
Yes.
I find it fascinating. Mm-hmm. So my eyes just lit up, and I looked and I said, is that Assyrian? And he started talking to me about the fact that he is a Assyrian poet with a worldwide following.
No kidding.
He has his own little YouTube thing. He does these, professionally done.
Writing his name down.
Professionally done videos. He has followers all over. And we had at least a half-hour conversation on the state of the Assyrian church and the design and where all the bishops are located. And anyway, and even though he kept telling me how he had been anxious about sharing his poetry, he kept pushing his YouTube camera over so that I could observe his Assyrian poetry. And I must say, I watched 2 full videos.
Really?
And they're subtitled. And I was just astonished that here we are it's one of the reasons I love San Jose. Yeah, because I can wander in to have my car fixed. And who is there but a famous worldwide Assyrian poet?
Jeez.
Isn't that something else?
That is cool.
Who happens to own an auto body shop.
Oh,
so I just had to share that because I haven't enjoyed myself so much, and I don't know when. Plus, he's like a real live Assyrian, and I just find them they're so ancient. They're very ancient Assyrians.
Ancient,
yes.
I
I mean that they've been around, and in fact, they were kicked out 1,000 years ago when Cyrus came in, and kicked them out of Turkey. But so they really are. It's a diaspora. They're all over the world. And every time I meet one, I just cannot stop talking to them. So anyway, that was my incredible treat.
I love that.
It was beyond fabulous.
Gosh.
So take your car there. By the way, you did a great job with my car. Reasonably priced. Almaden Auto Body.
Do you want to get to the actual humility moment when you backed out and wrecked it again?
I told him. You know what I told him? I said, you know what? You're going to be my dude.
Guide me out.
Because I'll be back. That's what I told him.
I got you on speed dial.
Exactly. I go, I'll be back, buddy. You did a great job.
Did you ask him? Hey, just an aside, did you ask him, hey, how are you with lawn tools?
Exactly.
Gardening tools? How are you with electrical things?
So I kind of felt bad. He did such a good job. I thought, well, bless his heart, he has no idea how shortly that'll last. But
I love
you know what? It looked good going to the office.
It's interesting. The humility moment. I can go so many directions with this, but since I'm going to switch gears because you just shared this one where you find this intense humility when in meeting such remarkable people.
Yeah.
And we've had several instances in our organization where people we know come through our service. And this has happened to me. It's happened to several of our staff I know. And then we had a newer person with us who was looking at data and had said, I just realized that this person I went to high school with,
wow.
and all these other things. And it was quite an emotional thing, like, well, what is there something I could do? Is it this thing people want to reach out and help?
Right.
And of course, we know we can't do
right,
that.
Right.
I mean, it's not something we can't cross that boundary. But it's just interesting to occupy a space in our life and then see part of our past life come in front of us, and it brings to fore all the things we've done to lead to that moment. And and it creates this notion of wanting to know how that person got to their moment.
What happened that your paths diverged like that.
And to reach out is what I guess I'm really saying, and it's happened to so many of our staff. It's just really nice to see people have that, just want to reach out, that reflex of just wanting to reach out without thinking about it. Yeah,
that's our basic core goodness.
It's a core goodness.
And not to forget that we actually have that. It's
that,
kind of hardwired.
That empathy. So, that's my moment. I have others, but I can save them.
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we thank you for joining our ridiculous selves, and we look forward to talking with you again in a coming up episode. Okay. Take care.
Take care.